Stacey Aldrich, the Deputy Secretary for State Libraries or Commonwealth Libraries here in Pennsylvania, is our speaker today. She's going to be presenting her session. And we'll get started in a second. Sorry for the delay. And minimize this and see if we have her.
Your audio is actually set to telephone, so you need to switch it to mic and speaker.
Ah, thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
You are the first caller and will be placed on hold until the next caller arrives.
Hello, hi. Sorry that took a moment. This is an experiment, as you can see. I can't wait for technology more streamlined. Hopefully you can hear me. So, Mike, could you just chat in to make sure that you can all hear me now that I've logged in to the audio? Yeah, cool. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for allowing me to join you this way. I'm sorry I'm not there in Pittsburgh today. But I'm really honored to spend some time with you and to talk a little bit about the State Library and a little bit about, I know the theme this year is people and information and technology, and I've been doing a lot of thinking about the role that libraries play in creating the human connection between those and the role that you all are going to play as you're looking at information and technology and making information accessible. So another person logged on, so there's chat. So hopefully at the end we'll have some time to spend chat or just talk. I'm really looking forward to spending some time with you. So just a little bit about me. I was born in Pittsburgh, McGee Hospital. My family's from Pittsburgh, but I actually was a Garden brat, so I grew up all over. But I did go to Pitt. And I'm a Pitt alum, especially of the school for the ag school. So I'm very excited to be with you all. I've had an interesting career. I've been an academic librarian. I've been a public librarian and spent most of my career in state libraries. So I'm the State Librarian of Pennsylvania right now, or Deputy Secretary for the Office of Commonwealth Libraries. But I've also been the State Librarian of California. That's where I was previously. And I was appointed by Arnold Schwarzenegger, which was an interesting experience too. And I've also worked at the State Library of Maryland. So I've been at the 747 level for a long time and really focused on how do we continue to evolve and think about the changes in the world around us and how we think about technology and information and supporting our communities. So I'm going to turn my video, or I'm going to turn the video off, I think, so that you can see my presentation. And what I want to do is sort of talk about what I've been thinking about. But before that, while I have you here, I feel the need to talk about the State Library, and just a little commercial for the State Library. So hopefully, either you've been to the State Library, you know that we have a State Library. We are the second oldest state library in the country. We were established in 1745, and Benjamin Franklin was our first state librarian, and that's pretty exciting. He was asked by the Assembly of the Continental Congress to purchase materials to help them make legislative decisions in colonies. They were making a lot of decisions at the time, and they didn't have all the legal materials that they needed to understand what the role of England was. And so when they would write legislation, they would have to send it to England, it would have to be approved by the king, and then it would have to come back. And of course, it wasn't faxed or texted or shipped by email. It had to take a vote, and oftentimes they were getting back messages about things that they didn't know was being referenced. So the first collection really was this general collection of legal materials. So we have most of that collection today here at the State Library. So when you're touching one of those assembly collections from the 1740s, you are touching something that Benjamin Franklin probably touched. So, I'm sorry, McGee, I like that kind of stuff. We have two key roles as the State Library of Pennsylvania, where we have a collection. So the collection I was talking about from 1745. Our rare collection also includes really amazing materials, like one of the first copies of Mason-Dixon map that was created by Mason and Dixon to help solve the disputes between the Calverts and the Penns related to Pennsylvania and Maryland. We also have diaries from Civil War soldiers. We have pamphlets that were written early on from various Quakers and Thomas Paine, talking about what was important about thought and process and government and the formation of our country. So our rare collection is pretty amazing in that it tells the story of not only Pennsylvania, but also our nation. We're a general information resource as well. The picture to your left is a picture of our main reading room. It has 4 floors up and 3 floors below, full of a variety of materials, but also are some general, but things that relate to Pennsylvania. We have a great genealogy collection. A lot of people come and do research at the State Library. And we also have the most robust collection of newspapers from Pennsylvania. I don't know how many are aware how many newspapers there are or have been published in Pennsylvania, but something like over 2,600 newspapers have been published in this state. And we have newspapers that go back to the 1700s and some complete runs from counties. So to this day, we still get all the county papers. So we have the biggest collection on the planet of Pennsylvania newspapers. We're also responsible, we're a federal repository, self-federal repository for resources that come from the federal government, and we're also by law required to, and it's important for us to do, is to collect every government publication that's produced to make it accessible. So we pretty much have all the publications that have been done. Be they reports, maps, you name it. And then we also have a law library, which is pretty amazing, and right now under some renovation. The ceiling, they're actually repainting the ceiling and putting in some original lighting, or copies of the original lighting that was in that room. I hope you do come and visit. It's amazing what they're doing in the building. When I first got here, the ceiling I thought was beautiful. It's all kinds of wonderful colors with different kinds of images, and I thought it was kind of like a dingy brown. And it's actually not. It's more like a pale vanilla color. It was dingy because people were just smoking in the law library, so it's pretty amazing. So please do come and visit. You know where to find me. I'd love to give you a tour of the State Library. The other role that the State Library plays is in library development. So we have a core group of people who provide support for statewide projects and initiatives to help development of libraries across the state. And we also are responsible for deploying state aid, which goes to public libraries, the library access program, which includes Power Library. Hopefully many of you have heard of Power Library. And then also LSTA, which are Keystone too. Sorry, Keystone is our capital grant. We're one of few states that actually has funding to help libraries renovate, make their buildings ADA accessible, and also rebuild or create better spaces. Library Service and Technology Act is LSTA funds. Hopefully many of you have heard about them. They come from the Institute for Museum and Library Services. The funding goes to all 50 states. There's a baseline amount of money that we all get, and then the rest is based on population and our ability to meet maintenance of effort and also have matching requirements. And what's really exciting about LSTA is we can do a library projects with those funds. In Pennsylvania, because we're 12.7 million people, we get about $5.4 million. California, we have 38 million people, so I think we had $15.4 million, which is a really important amount of money. Even a 5.4 here is very important for library development, the ability for libraries to be strategic, to offer services to their communities. So it's pretty interesting. So hopefully some of you have thought about libraries, the state library, as a possibility in one of the 50 states as a potential career. And I would love to talk with you all more about that if you had any questions about the state library. And if I could pause for a second, Mike, does anybody have any questions about the state library before I move on?
Stacey, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, great, okay. I don't see any hands right now. Is it okay? If they have questions, I'll let you know.
All right. Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So I've been thinking a lot about what is the role of libraries. And a lot of people have said libraries. We don't need libraries anymore because I carry everything in my pocket now in my smartphone. I really started to think about what's the real core of libraries. And if you think about a book is just a technology. And it's just a technology that transmits information. It transmits ideas, it transmits history, it transmits records, transmits data, and it's just a format for transmitting information. And when you think about books are really just ways of communicating among humans. So when I think about libraries, a lot of people think about libraries as being something like this, just books. There's not much technology that you can see right now in this picture. But they think about libraries as just this. But when we think about a book being a technology for communication, then really, all along, I think libraries have been about human connections and human communication. And so what does that really mean? I really think that libraries are about connecting each other and their communities and humans to our collective stories, to learning, and to our communities. And when you think about our collective stories, there's all kinds of stories that we tell. An example of one of the ways people are collecting stories and connecting community, in Sacramento, they have a on-demand printing press, an espresso machine. And with that press, they've been able to connect the community. And the picture that you see on the right is a homeless man who has been coming to the library, and several people realized that he was a poet. And they raised money to actually publish his poetry, and they published it through the I Street Press, the public libraries, method of making the words accessible. So the library played a role in Sacramento of collecting the story of someone within their community, and not only did they collect that story and make it accessible, but now also preserved within the library because they have a copy of this man's work that tells the story of this man and shares his ideas. So again, creating an opportunity for the community to share, collect, and preserve stories. I'm thinking about the state library as well. We have diaries from Civil War soldiers. In particular, the page that you can see to the right on the screen is a page from Lieutenant George Snowden's diary. He was actually in the Battle of Gettysburg, and we have his diary, 2 or 3 pages of his account of the Battle of Gettysburg. It's an amazing account because he talks about the smells and the sounds, and then he also records who he thinks has died during the battle. He was in the 142nd. His regiment was in the first day of battle, and they lost about 60% of their men. So my father's actually a licensed battlefield guide, and when they found his diary, the writing, it's a very, very tiny little diary. I'm not quite sure how he wrote as tiny as he did. But we digitized all the pages, and we were trying to transcribe them for some material for the 150th anniversary of Gettysburg. And I had my dad looking at it because he had contacts. And it was interesting because some of the things he was reporting weren't true. It actually didn't happen, but that was from his perspective. So in the state library, we're collecting these stories. And now, how do we use technology to connect people to these stories? And how do we create more access to these stories? So one of the things that we've done is we've worked with software called Crypto. Many of you may have heard of it. Many libraries have used it to offer an opportunity for the public to help them transcribe digitized materials. So right now, you can come to the state library There's a website link if you're interested. I can send that to you. And actually join and help us transcribe these diaries so that in the future more people can read them. And so I think there's about 19 people working on helping us transcribe these stories. And again, these stories tell us who we are, where we've been, and I think they create the human connection, which is our stories may change, but there's this human thread that's so important to us understanding who we are and our communities. In California, what they've been doing is they've been using another technology called Flipbook, which many of you have probably used or seen, and they're digitizing what you see in front of you is actually a guide to Los Angeles. And the California State Library has a ton of these guides which were designed to entice people to come and live in California. And so they're digitizing a lot of their materials in collections to help people, they're curating these collections to make them more accessible and in ways that are more interesting. They're also working on 3D, and they've been doing some 3D imaging of a lot of the photographs that they have of miners and the gold rush. And it's amazing looking at an image in 3D how different you think about what you're looking at. And so, again, it's libraries looking at how do we connect people to the stories of the past, but also sort of the tomorrow in a way that is exciting and interesting. So I think we continue to be about the human connections to stories, but how we're helping connect people is changing. The other thing that I think is not a new role for us, it's an ongoing role, and you can see from this quote from Melville Dewey. There's a report that he did on the state of libraries in 1899, and it's on the Internet Archive. You can search for Melville Dewey, or if you go to, you can search for the California State Library, you can find it under there. I made sure it got digitized after I read it. I was really reading it to see, okay, what were we looking at in terms of what libraries were in 1899, and what are we thinking about libraries in the 20th century, 21st century, in the 22nd century. And what I read was really interesting because not a lot had changed in the types of things we were talking about. It was how we were doing things. But the one thing that he cited was this quote about the library as a home education center. And best of all, it's the steadily growing public recognition of the library as the natural home for all agencies and make for education and culture outside the regular teaching institution. I think this is an ongoing role. I don't think it ends, especially in a world where learning is changing from just learning as you're learning how to read to an adult. The ongoing personal transformation that we're going to be continuing to go through as we need new skills to engage with our world. And libraries are those informal places that are creating connections among not only resources but people for learning. So if we look at the kinds of things that we're doing, of course we have story times in public libraries happening all over that are preparing young children to be ready for school. We have places that we're creating for families, and this is a picture of, there's a project that's all over across the country in public libraries called Family Place, and it's designed to help libraries create spaces within their libraries for families, that have resources for families where they can learn together, and they also create opportunities to connect with other people within the community who have specialized skills to help them have successful families. So looking at what kinds of nutrition do we need to make sure that our kids have? How do we know if our child's having eyesight problems? So libraries are creating these connections, these learning opportunities so that families can succeed. And in this picture, I'm not sure what you can actually see, but there's a family here. There's a wife and a husband, and you can't see the little kid, but I loved it. They were sitting on these tiny little chairs, and they were reading, and they were native Spanish speakers, but they were practicing their English. So it was really awesome. And then, of course, learning in a digital age, that not everybody has access still. And eventually, we'll have more access and different kinds of access, but libraries are creating these opportunities for people to come in and take courses online. We have a lot of students, especially in Pennsylvania, who are doing online